In the silence of the night, the hospital lights shimmered like fragile stars holding on to hope. The emergency ward doors burst open as a middle-aged man was rushed inside on a stretcher. His name was Salim. His breathing came in broken fragments, each breath fighting against an invisible weight pressing down on his chest. His hand was clutched tightly over his heart as if he were trying to physically hold on to life. Behind him, his wife Zainab stumbled forward, her eyes wide with fear, her lips trembling with whispered prayers. The emergency team moved quickly, but there was a particular calm authority in the way drive. Hamad stepped forward. He was one of the city's most respected heart surgeons, known not just for his skill but for the quiet confidence he carried into the most critical moments. He examined the reports, studied the ECG, and listened carefully to the rhythm of Salim's struggling heart. Within seconds, he understood the gravity of the situation. One of Salim's major coronary arteries was severely blocked. Without immediate surgery, survival would be unlikely. "We have to operate. Now, drive," Hamad said firmly. Zainab's hands shook as she clutched the edge of the counter. "Doctor, please save him. Our children are still so young." "Doctor," Hamad placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will do everything we can." Those words, simple yet powerful, became the thin thread of hope she held onto as Salim was wheeled toward the operating theater. Inside the operating room, everything gleamed under bright white lights. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the air. Machines hummed steadily, monitors beeped in rhythmic patterns, and the surgical team prepared in synchronized silence. There is something deeply intense about heart surgery. It is not merely a medical procedure, it is a delicate negotiation between life and death. One small error can shift the balance forever. "Doctor," Hamad scrubbed in, his movements precise and practiced. His eyes reflected focus and determination. He had performed many bypass surgeries before, but each patient was different. Each heart carried its own story, its own responsibilities, its own family waiting outside. As the surgery began, time seemed to slow down. Salim's chest was carefully opened, and his heart was connected to a heart-lung machine that temporarily took over the vital function of circulating blood. The operating room fell into a deep concentration. Every movement was deliberate, every decision mattered. "Doctor," Hamad located the blocked artery. The obstruction was severe. He began the intricate process of creating a new pathway for blood to flow, bypassing the blocked section. Sweat gathered on his forehead, but his hands remained steady. Years of training, countless hours in the operating room, and an unwavering commitment to his patients guided him through each step. Suddenly, the steady rhythm of the monitor changed. The beeping grew faster and irregular. A nurse's voice cut through the tension. "Doctor, his heart rate is dropping." The room froze for a split second. In moments like these, panic can be contagious, but leadership is everything. "Doctor," Hamad did not hesitate. "Administer the medication. Maintain the pressure," he ordered, his voice calm yet commanding. Inside his mind, calculations moved at lightning speed. He adjusted his approach, responding to the heart's distress. The team followed his instructions precisely. Seconds felt like minutes, minutes felt like hours, and then, gradually, the monitor's chaotic sound softened. The rhythm steadied, the heart responded, a collective breath of relief filled the room, but the surgery was not yet over. "Doctor," Hamad continued with renewed focus. Carefully, skillfully, he completed the bypass, ensuring the new pathway was secure and functioning properly. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he closed the chest with meticulous care. 4 hours after it began, the surgery was complete. Outside, Zainab had not moved from her spot in the waiting area. Her hands were raised in prayer, her lips silently repeating supplications. Every time the operating room doors opened, her heart leapt, only to sink again when it was not news about her husband. When Dr. Hamad finally walked out, exhaustion was written across his face, but so was something else, quiet satisfaction. "Your husband is out of danger." The surgery was successful. For a moment, Zainab could not process the words. Then tears streamed down her face. She fell into prostration, overwhelmed with gratitude. In that instant, the hospital corridor felt transformed. What had been a place of fear became a space of relief and thanksgiving. Salim spent the next few days in the intensive care unit. Tubes and monitors surrounded him, but his heart beat steadily. Slowly, he regained consciousness. His first weak smile was a victory more powerful than any applause. When he was finally moved to a regular room, he looked fragile but alive. Zainab sat beside him, holding his hand, as if afraid to let go again. Their children visited, their small hands wrapping around his fingers. In their eyes, he saw something he had nearly lost, the chance to watch them grow up. When Dr. Hamad came for his rounds, Salim reached out and held his hand. "You gave me a new life," he said softly. Dr. Hamad smiled. "It was your strength and God's mercy. We are only instruments." Those words lingered long after he left the room. Near-death experiences have a way of reshaping a person's perspective. For Salim, life no longer felt ordinary. The simple act of breathing carried meaning. Morning sunlight felt warmer. The laughter of his children sounded sweeter. He began to prioritize his health, following dietary advice, taking his medications regularly, and going for daily walks. He reduced stress, managed his anger, and learned to appreciate moments he once took for granted. Before the surgery, work had consumed him. He often came home late, tired and irritable. Family dinners were rushed. Weekends were spent catching up on unfinished tasks. But after facing the edge of mortality, his priorities shifted. He understood that success meant nothing without health, and wealth meant little without time to share it with loved ones. He began attending his children's school events. He listened more carefully when Zainab spoke. He laughed more often. Gratitude became a daily habit rather than an occasional thought. For Dr. Hamad, the operation was one among many, yet it held a special place in his memory. Every successful surgery reminded him why he had chosen this profession. A heart is not just an organ pumping blood. It is the center of dreams, relationships, responsibilities, and love. Repairing a heart means preserving a family's future. Yet the life of a surgeon is not easy. Behind every calm exterior lies immense pressure. The weight of responsibility can be overwhelming. Surgeons carry the knowledge that someone's father, husband, or son lies vulnerable under their care. The emotional toll is significant, even if rarely visible. That night, after finishing his rounds, Hamad sat quietly in his office. The hospital had grown calm again. He reflected on how close the surgery had come to failure when the heart rate dropped. One wrong decision could have changed everything. He whispered a silent prayer of gratitude, for guidance, for steady hands, for the chance to make a difference. Stories like Salim's often remain confined within hospital walls, but they represent something universal. They remind us that life is fragile. A normal day can turn into a crisis without warning. A healthy routine can be interrupted by a single blocked artery. Yet they also remind us of resilience, of science, skill, faith, and human determination working together. Heart disease remains one of the leading causes of death worldwide, often developing silently over years. Stress, unhealthy diets, lack of exercise, and ignoring warning signs contribute to the risk. Salim's story serves as a powerful reminder that prevention is as important as treatment. Regular checkups, balanced nutrition, physical activity, and managing stress are not luxuries, they are necessities. But beyond medical advice, this story carries a deeper message. It is about valuing time, about expressing love before it is too late, about recognizing that every heartbeat is a gift. In the quiet moments of early morning, Salim sometimes places his hand over his chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath. Each beat is a second chance. Each pulse carries gratitude, and somewhere in the same city, under bright hospital lights, Hamad prepares for another surgery. Another family waits. Another heart fights for survival. The cycle continues: fear, courage, skill, hope, and relief. Because in the end, medicine is not just about procedures and prescriptions. It is about people. It is about standing in the gap between despair and hope. It is about holding steady when everything feels uncertain. That night in the hospital proved something profound. When knowledge meets compassion, when expertise is guided by faith, and when determination refuses to surrender, miracles do not always appear as flashes of light. Sometimes, they sound like a steady, returning heartbeat echoing through a quiet operating room. And sometimes, they look like a man walking out of a hospital days later, holding his wife's hand, stepping into the sunlight, carrying within his chest not just a repaired heart, but a renewed purpose for living.